Today is a sad day of saying a final earthly goodbye to Amir.
He was always there for everybody.
She heard 3 gunshots that could have been pointed in her direction.
My wish would be for one of Dad's hugs.
And they're taking a girl out of the auditorium who had been shot in her leg.
And yes, he was the one who shot our principal and a bunch of students.
And so I'm scared, and I want to talk to my mom, but you can't.
Imagine being a 6th grade student, only to find yourself lying lifeless due to some intentional decisions made by an immature 17-year-old. If you think that's a joke, then you've seen nothing. Here are 6 individuals whose lives have been flipped upside down, all due to the actions of a single person. Stories that will leave you not only stunned, but also wondering about the safety of the schools we have today. But first, to keep you up, let's start from the very beginning. On January the 4th, 2024, northwest of Des Moines, at a high school in Perry, Iowa, a 17-year-old student named Dylan Butler posted a video on TikTok from the school's bathroom with a blue duffel bag next to him and the words, "Now we wait." So, you're this wild and wacky 17-year-old, right? Full of more energy than sense, and with a maturity level that's somewhere south of a banana peel. So, what do? You wake up one morning and think, you know what would be a riot? Shooting a 6th grader. Because clearly, that's the pinnacle of teenage tomfoolery. It's like being the class clown, except instead of whoopee cushions, you're armed with poor life choices. Alright, so, kicking off today's episode is a video that's both emotional and heart-wrenching. The moment Amber Ross received a devastating call about her 12-year-old daughter plunged her into a state of panic and fear. Her 7th grade daughter was one of the victims of the Perry High School shooting. Let's take a look at how the complete situation unfolded.
My daughter called me exactly at 7:37. She told me she'd heard 3 gunshots and ran out the door to where their safe space is when they're evacuated. So the middle school and the high school are connected by a hallway where the cafeterias are. And the shooter was in the high school cafeteria in that hallway. And so she was in that hallway leaving. So it could have been her.
That was touching, I'm not gonna lie. So, Amber's 12-year-old daughter just chilling in the high school cafeteria, hears 3 ear-splitting gunshots. Not to mention the fact that there's this creepy hallway wedged between the middle and high school sections. And guess who decides to set up shop there? Yep, you guessed it. The shooter, Dylan Butler. What makes it even more shocking is that it's a stone's throw away from where she was sitting. Just think about it. One minute she's grabbing breakfast, and the next she's caught in the crosshairs of a life-threatening situation.
As a mom, you never want to get that call.
I thought she was like exaggerating. I was like, no way, like that couldn't happen. Like you guys just heard something and then nope, that's what she heard, and it could have been her. She heard 3 gunshots that could have been pointed in her direction.
What did she do next? Where did she hide?
She went to the armory. So it's a military base, right? So it's like the military base here in Perry, and they're told to evacuate so she was in that parking lot when everything was happening. Luckily, she was far enough away that she was able to get out.
And then how did you get to her, and what was that like when you saw her safe?
I drove up like I was picking her up from school like any normal day. I mean, obviously the traffic was insane, and there were cops coming in, flooding from both directions, and there was so many of them. Like, it's crazy how many cops were there.
Amber's reaction as a mother is truly heartbreaking. However, let's not overlook the emotional turmoil her 12-year-old daughter might be experiencing. Thankfully, she was able to evacuate safely to the Perry, Iowa Armory. You can only imagine what would have been if the stakes had been higher. This could easily turn out to be a nightmare for someone, if you ask me. Let's also not forget the calm but very concerned law enforcement effort to deal with the school shooting. Over 150 law enforcement officers responded immediately within just the hour. It's been stated by the White House that this marks the first school shooting in the United States in 2024. Now, you might be wondering how Amber's daughter is holding up after experiencing such a harrowing event. Well, Let's take a closer look.
How's your daughter doing now?
She's shaken up. She's better now than she was when I picked her up. She was really scared and crying and worried about all her friends, but she's been able to contact the majority of them, and obviously those that don't have cell phones or whatever, she'll be able to figure out at a later time.
Amid the shroud of tragedy bearing down on them, Amber Ross finds the strength to share her final message with all the parents out there.
What do you want to say to other parents out there today struggling, kids struggling with all this?
Hug your babies. My husband left at 6 o'clock this morning, and she jumped in the shower right after he left, and he's like, that could have been the last time I saw her. And it's just, it's hard. It hits you.
All I can say is that the entire event shows just how much of an advocate Amber was. As the gravity of the situation sinks in, things may seem tough for her at the moment, but there's always a silver lining. At least her daughter is okay, which is more than I can say for this unfortunate woman and her daughter here.
What do you say about a guy that gave you life and then gave you the world, showed you the glass ceiling, and armed you with the resources and support to shatter it? Nothing to bring Dad back, nothing that makes us hurt less or the pain better. Instead, I want to paint the picture of the man everyone has been calling a hero the last couple of weeks.
In an act of heroism, Iowa High School principal Dan Marburger, who has served in his role since 1995, placed himself in danger to protect the students. Marburger intervened with Butler, allowing many students to escape from the school cafeteria where the shootings began during breakfast. In spite of sustaining 3 gunshot wounds, Marburger fought relentlessly for 10 days.
Dan gave us good for 10 days. He fought like hell for 10 days, and he gave us 10 days to love on him and then give him permission. He was so tired, just needed a rest.
Dan Marburger leaves behind his 5 children, 4 grandchildren, and his beloved wife, Elizabeth. Despite the profound loss of her one and only dad, Claire, his daughter, conveyed that her first wish wouldn't even be to have him back. Instead, she had something else on her mind.
If I had a genie with one wish, it wouldn't be a new car, or a house, or a dollar amount. It wouldn't even have to be to have Dad back, because I know that's a big wish. My wish would be for one of Dad's hugs. Just a couple seconds to hold him, and he'd hold me, to kiss me on the top of my head, and tell me he was proud of me. He loved to see us succeed in anything that we do, and was there when we fell a little short.
It's also important to note here that tragedy befell Dan's wife too. Marburger and his wife Elizabeth had been dating since they were in 8th grade. She says his love for her was, and will continue to be, unequivocal.
43 years. 8th grade. It just doesn't seem like long enough. Dan was the ultimate family man. My wish for all of you is to have someone, a parent, a partner, a friend, a sibling, who will love you unconditionally like Dan did for me. And my other challenge to you is to see the good in the world. This that we've lived the last couple of weeks has been the rotten. But the good is out there, and every day we have to look for the good.
Elizabeth is a wife in a million, a rarity in today's world. Remaining loyal and loving for 43 years straight is an exceptional feat. It's almost impossible to find a woman like her. It's often said that behind every great man, there's a great woman. And in Elizabeth's case, this rings true. Furthermore, Claire Marburger shared on Facebook that she received cards from community members and students. Among them, her favorite made her and her family members laugh and smile, ignoring the chicken scratch that looks like a grocery list written by a toddler. The message conveyed, not all heroes wear capes, some are school principals. Claire also had something to share about a song whose lyrics always reminded her of her dad.
The last song I recently fell in love with in the last couple of days, no surprise here, Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift song is called Marjorie, which she wrote and talks about her grandmother. But those words, as I listened, I could feel her words and how they represented Dad so well. Never be so kind, you forget to be clever. Never be so clever, you forget to be kind. Never be so polite you forget your power. Never wield so much power you forget to be polite. My favorite line that I keep repeating over and over in my head, or probably out loud sometimes, is what died didn't stay dead. How great is that? Dad may be gone, but he's still around. We get to keep him alive with us, emulating the grace, the patience, and the passion we show others. The lessons he taught us, and most definitely the love. Dad will forever be alive in our heads and in our hearts. Nothing has changed.
Besides her evident obsession with Taylor Swift, Claire expresses that she never doubted Dan's love and care for her and her siblings. She learned the importance of being present from him, as he always attended her basketball games.
Our presence matters. If someone is important to you, or something is important to you, you show up. You prove it by being there.
Thousands coming out to show their support for Dan Marburger. As the procession came by Perry High School, with lots of law enforcement lighting the way, there were signs expressing love for Mr. Marburger. Even the hearse had a Blue Jays Forever sign. There are countless memories for a man who dedicated 28 years of his life to serving this community so admirably. For sure, there's been a lot of drama involved. Don't you agree? Speaking of drama, get ready for the next one, as it's full of it. Perry High School senior Ava Augustus was awaiting a counselor in the school office when she heard 3 gunshots. Here we observe the terrifying ordeal faced by Ava as the band teacher cautiously peered under the door, ensuring that the shooter had left, thus providing students with the opportunity to evacuate safely.
We wait, and she's looking under the door, looking for the feet. She's trying to keep us calm. People are calling their parents, their friends, and then we hear, he's down. You can go out.
As Ava recounts the scene of shattered glass and blood-stained floors, it becomes clear that the scars left by such senseless violence run deep into the collective consciousness of the community.
And I run, and you can just see glass everywhere. Blood on the floor. I get to my car, and they're taking a girl out of the auditorium who had been shot in her leg. Before classes had started, and thank God, because I can't imagine all of the students passing period, just the open bodies that would have been open. Of course, I want to call my mom, I want to call people, but when we do our Alice drills, it's stay down, low, be quiet, don't let people know that you're in here. And so I'm scared, and I want to talk to my mom, but you can't.
While Ava has been inundated with panic, fright, and faced a dilemma that has taken a psychological and emotional turn, not only on Ava, but also on her mom, you can tell just from her looks. It gets on my nerves how innocent students like Ava have to suffer and fear for their lives. Unfortunately, Ava wasn't the only student who experienced such violence. This is Anthony Ubaldo, the 9th grader who was in the same bathroom as Dylan Butler when he posted that TikTok video with the duffel bag.
I heard someone moving around, and I looked through the little crack in the stall. He looked at me through the crack. He opened his duffel bag and hooked it up. My body just told me, like, you're not supposed to be here, leave. It's just traumatizing, because honestly, he could have just killed me here right now.
Moments later, authorities reported that Dylan Butler had shot and killed a 6th grader, who was later identified as Amir Jolliffe, who was in the high school cafeteria for a breakfast program. Dylan then proceeded to shoot 6 more students, and tragically, our beloved principal, Dan Marburger. Dylan's closest friends had differing opinions regarding this pitfall. Yesenia Roeder and Kamya Hall seemed to have a sort of justification for Dylan's actions.
I've been going to that school my entire life, and those kids would do horrible things to him. He was bullied since elementary school. He was a good person. He was hurting. He got tired. He got tired of the bullying. He got tired of the harassment. Was it a smart idea to shoot up the school? No. God, no. And I am mad at him for that. Lord knows I am mad at him for that. But do I think he should have taken his own life? No.
And yes, he was the one who shot our principal and a bunch of students. But at the end of the day, he's just a kid. He just turned. He was the kindest person ever. He was there for us when we needed him, and we tried to be there when he needed us
us, which clearly we weren't there for him enough.
Kind of ironic how she mentions that he was the kindest person ever. Well, something doesn't add up here. If Dylan Butler was truly the kindest person ever, would he have taken the lives of his 57-year-old principal and the 6th grader Amir Jolliffe? What does a 6th grader have to do with all of this? Amir wasn't even there when Dylan was in elementary school. If he was truly the kindest person ever, wouldn't he have just forgiven those who bullied him? You might be wondering, where is Dylan Butler now? Sadly, Dylan Butler was found to have taken his own life by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The event went far beyond anyone's expectations, leaving even Perry High School class president Caitlin Lieber shocked by Dylan Butler's decision to bring a gun to school.
It's kind of weird, you know, you see these people in the halls and you wouldn't expect that from them. Like, I didn't know that whatever he was going through, he was going through. This is just a lesson that, you know, you need to be nice to people and just talking to them, no matter who you are.
Caitlin Lieber expresses how this situation had a lingering negative impact on her and her community.
Everybody understood that this isn't just a regular, this situation did happen and we can't forget about it. So it just signifies that people are here and people are there to help us.
The good part is that during the first day back at Perry High School after the deadly shooting, the day was focused on creating a comfortable environment for the students. Therapy animals and counselors were on standby, and small mementos encouraging strength were scattered throughout the school.
This morning, you know, I was kind of scared to walk in. I mean, I took a deep breath and I had trust in my school, the administrators, so I knew I would be fine. And I mean, I walked in with good expectations.
The whole world is wrapping its arms around us tonight.
I want to send our support and our deepest sympathies to the victims and families touched by the terrible school shooting in Perry, Iowa.
If there's one thing this whole tragedy underscores, it's the alarming decline in school safety over recent years. Even students themselves are gripped by fear of attending school. It begs the question, when will enough be enough?
When will enough be enough?
Yes, it's indeed the time to ask ourselves, when enough is truly enough? When will all the students be able to go to school without worrying that they might be harmed, or even worse, lose their lives?
Truly infuriated at the government and the state that they've put us in, where we have to damn near fight for our lives.
I couldn't agree more. Could you? Well, let's dive into some sobering facts. Recent research paints a stark picture. Out of every 10,000 students, a staggering 2 are at risk of being shot or killed. In 2021 alone, there were roughly 90,000 individuals killed or injured by gun violence. As the saying goes, acknowledging a problem is the first step towards solving it. So what are you waiting for? Just hit subscribe and we will catch you in the next one.